don't know what happened. It was weird because literally, as I was walking over here from the locker room, I was talking perfectly fine. Maybe I got nervous in front of you guys or something.
I'm pretty intimidating.
After a night's sleep, I feel better. Kind of seem less intimidating after a win.
I think Hilton's the only Big 12 building that a road team hasn't won in this year. What challenges are unique to it?
Y'all put it up there with the best venues in college basketball. You know, kind of flies under the radar in that regard. I mean, people obviously in the league know it, but I think nationally, not as well known. I mean, probably the best basketball environment that I've ever seen was the year I was an assistant coach here, and we played on their senior night. And their seniors were Monte Morris, Naz Long, Deontay Burton, Matt Thomas. And that team, they had won like 130 games by that time in their career. And I literally felt like there were people hanging from the roof in there. And it was a close game, but I still remember being in there like, wow, this is amazing. And it was my first time ever being there. And I've been in a lot of places, and there are very few times I walk away like, it's pretty special. And so I think that's part of it. When they're good, and they are, their fans respond in kind. And even when they haven't been great, their fans have still showed up and supported. So I think just the consistency of the environment, the team certainly gets a boost from their crowd. I think they're averaging about 10 more points per game at home. I think they're averaging like 64 a game on the road and like 75 at home. And so it certainly helps create a little bit more juice in their team. And you just got to be able to withstand that. Runs coming, it's going to get loud, and got to have some great poise to get it done.
You've had some success there in your time as a coach. Is that coincidental or?
Well, Matt Thomas and those guys weren't there my first year. We beat them up there. At that point, it was the only place that Mitch Solomon, Jeff Carroll hadn't won in their careers, and so it's pretty neat to be a part of that. Helped to take Kate up there, even though he didn't play. So I think having him in the building the year he was here helped. And then last year we played one of our best games of the year. So, 3 out of 5 isn't bad for a place that's really hard to win it.
Just the way you guys have been playing lately, does that carry confidence in on a road game like this one?
I mean, it carries confidence in your ability to believe in what you do. When the game starts, it'll be about execution. Be about our team playing with great energy, being well connected, understanding the challenge that's in front of us. Still, you go back and look at the stat sheet from the game we beat them here. It's hard to figure out how it happened, but a lot of it had to do with our crowd helped us that day, and so we gotta understand we gotta play better than we did then. We have to play better than we did last night, and certainly today's practice gives me hope that we'll be able to do that.
You talked about this kind of the mindset of someone, that comes like a Caleb Asbury that comes from the JUCO ranks and everything. I'm just curious what you think about the mindset of a guy like Bryce and Musa, who are, really highly ranked high school prospects and end up transferring.
I don't know. I don't know if there's enough data out there yet. JUCO's been around forever, right? It's been more recent that guys like that have gone to a place, and part of it is because the expectations are out of whack on the initial part of their careers, that even normal success in a normal sense, like it is for most kids, doesn't feel like it's successful for them. So they have a hard time understanding that that's part of the process and that there's going to be struggles along the way. But I've been really thankful for what they've done for us here in almost 2 full seasons. Their growth, they've obviously been a big part of some great wins for us, and to speak to their mindset, it's just a part of the process. These kids going to college, coming from being McDonald's All-Americans, and I think a lot of ways assume it's going to continue to be as easy as it has been, which is kind of natural. It's never been as hard as it is for them when they first get to a campus at this level of college basketball. So it's not unusual for it to be a struggle for most of them. So I'm not surprised to see young kids that were really, really highly touted not have the immediate success, but I think over time the talent will continue to shine through.
How did you kind of connect with Nas Brown?
Oh man, kind of a long story. His AAU coach is a good friend of mine. He played on the AAU team with the young man who was a freshman at Arkansas now that we recruited pretty strong. And so that's kind of the initial part. We certainly went pretty strong after that kid and didn't work out, but obviously got a chance to see Nas a few times. And, when he got injured, there was some thought about what he would do next, and thought it would be a good idea to come up and just see our program as AAU coach. Also Coach Cam McGriff, so some familiarity with how we do things in our program. So he came up and visited this summer. His parents, brought him up, and we got a chance to talk to him about what we do. We don't treat our walk-ons any different. He's going to practice hard. If there's an opportunity in practice that he earns to play, he'll get it. But the expectations of showing up on time, having a great attitude, being a good teammate, whether you play no games out of 31 or you end up starting like D. Mitchell did at some point in his career, the expectations on how you conduct yourself in the program will be the same. And he's embraced that, and he's been very, very helpful to our program so far.
Talk about learning from the guards too. How do you think guys like Avery and Chris and guys like that have been beneficial for him?
Yeah, I mean, I think even for a guy like Nas who played with high-level guys and has been exposed to a good level of basketball, you can't really quantify how difficult this is. Just how challenging it is every day, not just physically but mentally. Especially if you've always played and now you're not playing, and it feels like you're not quite the same part of it as you've always been. So I think those guys have done a good job of helping them. They've all had their different struggles at different points in their careers. I think they've kind of taken him under their wing in certain regard, but he's earned the respect in the locker room because of how he's got a great sense of humility. He works really hard, and I think he's about winning.
Over the past few weeks, you've gotten closer to that group ahead of you in the Big 12 standings. How important could it be to not have to, especially with how deep the league is this year, to not have to play in that first round in the Big 12 tournament?
I mean, I think it's always important. I don't know the data off the top of my head. I don't know how many times the team's won 4 games in the tournament to win it, or even to get to the championship game, be in the 4th game. We've had our most success. We had to play 1 less game. Now the team we played had to play 2 less games, so it's neither here nor there. But I can't get over it, guys. I'm sorry. It pains me. But the truth is, 1 less day of grinding against another really good team that you've seen before, it matters. And so we don't think about that right now. We just focus on trying to get ready for a really, really difficult game Saturday. But in the back of our minds is we know what's ahead of us.
Mike, last night, did you learn anything about your guard play and what it's going to look like without Avery, or is that something you're still experimenting with?
I think it's still evolving, and I think every game will present something a little bit different in that regard. The way Tech plays is very different than the way Iowa State is going to play. So depending on what's necessary, again, we played a little bit bigger last night than we had in the last 3 weeks prior to that. And that'll be something we'll continue to look at just because we just don't have the depth. When you talk about a guy who plays 30 minutes a game, you got to fill those gaps in with different ways.
How much does that help kind of having this experience that John Michael and Chris and those guys kind of have in the guard room? How much does that help them kind of adapt?
It's huge. It's huge. I mean, you weren't around, John, but my 3rd year here, we had a really experienced guard named Isaac Likely who started off the season red hot, and we got off to a 7-0 start, playing really well, and he gets unfortunately sick. Nobody's fault. And I had to look down and figure out that Avery Anderson and Chris Harris at the time were freshmen. And it didn't go great, to be honest. I believe Chris started the first game, I believe it was against Georgetown, and we played Wichita State and got our doors blown off in this building. And that's how D. Mitchell ended up being a starter for a couple games. And so it's hard when you don't have a guy who's been in that fire against the level of competition that you have to face. So certainly having guys who've been through it, have had success going through it, makes it a little bit more comfortable as a coach going into these games.
Mike, did you ever make that to High Point to recruit John Michael?
No, I didn't go to High Point, but I've been there. obviously I coached in the Big South as an assistant. My first assistant coaching job was at Coastal Carolina. It's not in the South, in the Big South anymore, but was. So I was familiar with the league, the level of competition that he was playing against. But the most important thing, I knew what kind of coach he was coming from, the respect I have for Coach Smith, and what he would have learned for 3 years under him was very, very important to us, feeling like he could help.
Did you know Tubby at all personally, or just know him by?
You know what? So Tubby, it's a small basketball world. Tubby Smith was an assistant coach at the University of South Carolina.
Okay.
And then obviously was the head coach at the University of Georgia before he became the head coach at the University of Kentucky. And so he's been around this thing and somebody I've always looked up to. Don't have a great personal relationship, but he's certainly somebody I admire a lot, and tried to follow a lot of the things from a principal standpoint of how he built successful programs at all the places he's been.
How many games do you have to watch? I'm thinking with John Michael's case, before you kind of feel comfortable in believing in a kid enough to bring him in here.
I mean, I don't know if there's a number, right? I think that's sort of arbitrary. I think the most important thing about evaluations, there are two things. You have to know what you're looking for. And you got to be able to identify it. And some people just can't watch a game and be able to identify certain things, whether it be from a skill standpoint, athletically, body language, whether the guy's a good teammate or not. And some of that stuff you can't find out unless you talk to people or you have personal interaction with them. But you have to do the job. You got to watch it. And in order to watch it and give an honest evaluation, you got to kind of have an idea of what it is you value, right? We watch a lot of tape on a lot of transfers, and some of them were like, I get how he did it there, but that's not going to work in this league against these coaches and these athletes. And there's some guys that you see and it's more efficient. Caleb Asbury, for example, high efficiency, low volume. John Michael, higher volume, pretty efficient, fairly good taking care of the basketball, high assists, lower level turnovers. So the things that you kind of have an idea when you're looking at these guys of how it fits what you're trying to do also, right? So it's not just putting a bunch of talent together, it's what do we need? And again, the conversation with these guys at the end of last season is we got to address this ball handling and three-point shooting thing. I think it's worked out pretty good so far.
Did you know Avery was going to be at the game last night, and have you had conversations?
No, so I knew he was going to surgery yesterday, and he was down there like 3 in the city. So you don't assume. He knew he was coming back somehow. I don't know if he had been in surgery, he just assumed that the drugs wouldn't be that strong, or maybe they'd be that strong. One way or the other, right? But I got the call, obviously, once the procedure was done. It wasn't quite back, but they were going to get back to town and see if they can get him some food and at least get him in the building.
Have you had conversations with him about how he can stay involved even though he can't play?
Yeah. I mean, we had these conversations even before, and obviously he knows everything that there is to know about our program, our league, how to be successful on the road against Iowa State. He's done it twice himself. Been a big part of both of those victories. And so talking to John Michael in the game tomorrow, Saturday, talking to Keon about, maybe slowing down and playing a little bit more sound basketball from time to time. Those are things that you can't put a value on from a guy in the locker room that those kids really respect.
So he will travel with you guys?
He'll travel with us.
Everything go well surgery-wise?
As far as I understand, I try not to play doctor in here as much as I possibly can, but the reports are went as well as it could have, and look forward to getting him rehabbed and starting to figure out the plan once that happens. But he's in the cast now, so nothing will happen until at least that's off.
He would have a year to come back if he so chooses, if he doesn't get to play. Have any of those initial conversations started since the injury, or?
No, again, these are difficult deals. I mean, and so case by case, once we get closer to the end, hopefully it's not for a while, but we'll have those conversations. And at the end of the day, it's dual. It's what's best for the kid, and certainly then as we transition, because we got to transition, right? What's best for the next class. We don't have unlimited scholarships. We've got several committed already, so we'll see.
How big was the first half yesterday for Bryce's confidence moving forward as, you know, someone who's probably gonna have to take a big scoring load?
It was great for him. Playing, I don't know if I've ever worried about his confidence. He's a kid, again, he doesn't really worry about those things. He's truly process oriented. He believes in the work he puts in. But I think it was better for our team, collectively feeling like, all right, we still have somebody who, if things break down, can put it in the next gear and go kind of get it done in one-on-one situations. And you know, he wanted the ball in that last possession. Obviously, we gave it to him. He missed a shot. I don't think he even remembers missing a shot. I think he remembers us winning. I mean, somehow after he shot it, John Mike put it in. So somewhere in the back of his mind. But on Saturday, the tie game with 13 seconds to go, he's gonna want the ball again.
Is that part of the mental makeup that you noticed when recruiting him?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the mental makeup when you watch a kid who works as hard as he has all his life to become the type of player that can succeed at this level and beyond. There's just an unrelenting pursuit of your best, and you know, he's never satisfied. He works the same if he goes 9 for 9.5, 0 for 4.5, or you know, obviously free throws is a big deal. He's gonna be in there. I got no doubt in my mind he's gonna be shooting free throws tonight, trying to figure out how to make sure the next time he's up there he makes them.
You follow the NBA trade deadline at all?
I follow everything related to basketball. It's a problem. I
What
really
was the
need to get out
best?
of this.
Who won the deadline? Who made the best move to improve their roster?
My son, he's a 2K fanatic, and he kept telling me that the KD is gonna get traded to the Suns, and I was like, why would the KD get traded to the Suns? I don't know where he gets his information from. All right,
Per source. Yeah.
But no, I mean, obviously, I think there's a lot of firepower out in the West right now. Unfortunately, it doesn't help my Knicks that much. We didn't make a move. We need to.
Traded
Too
for
late
Josh
now.
Hart.
A little bit. We need shooting. He's a great 3-and-D guy, but he's more of a D guy right now. And we need more threes out of that lineup somehow.
Mike, you talk about phenomenal basketball. You may not want to get into it too much, but did you see a 4-2 game? Did you see all that?
Yeah.
Any thoughts on shot clock or anything like that?
I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
So I don't really want to speculate on why it happened. I don't know if that's good for anybody, to be honest, in the game. I'll leave it at that. I mean, I try very hard not to criticize coaches. I know how hard these jobs are at every level. So I don't know what went into it. It's kind of crazy to look up and see that. But I don't know enough about what happened to really speak on it.
All right, wrap it up there. Thanks.